consistent. Look for indicators, but basically we gather the data and present it. What I've tried to do today is put some long-term information regarding statewide, and then I've taken some information for several years regarding the Rockingham Stratford County in order to get a large enough sample to get a reasonable indicator rather than pick on too small a group and get a disproportional representation. If we go to the first one. Basically, from a statewide perspective, we've been doing data collection for something over 30 years. This is the number of foreclosures per year in the last 30 years. The highlighted yellow, I apologize, it's so small. I've blown it up a couple times, it loses, but everyone can have a copy. 1991 was the peak year, most foreclosures ever. Okay, and the reason I've highlighted it is you can see it was a very sharp upturn for 2 years just before it. It actually took almost a 14-year run to get back to, quote, normal foreclosure activity. We estimate normal is somewhere slightly below 1% of market in any given year. So, not to be a bearer of bad news, just to let you know that foreclosures just aren't going to end overnight. I'm sorry.
Can't read it.
We can't hear you and we can't see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you try to put the PDF up? And you can make it bigger.
Just tell us what it says.
Can you make it larger?
Yeah.
I have.
They just read it.
I can read you the number.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as I stated, average year is somewhere around 1% or less foreclosures of market. In 1991, we hit an all-time high of 5,262. It went from 379 2 years previous to that number. It actually, we determined it hit the low point in 2004. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's how long it takes for these things to work out, and it's only a segment of the market. We ran until 2006 when it started the upturn. 2008 we hit 3,567. 2009 3,501. That's not enough to say it's on a downturn or an upturn. We think it's probably going to hold fairly steady. We've got, as a point of information, I guess what I want to say with this slide is just look at the time it takes foreclosure activity to work its way back out of the market. We're probably going to see fairly large numbers for another 3 to 4 years to come. And again, not trying to be a soothsayer, just letting you know that's the trend. All right, thanks, please. This is information, again, showing 1991 as a percentage of overall sales against foreclosure was at 18.8%, but we had a lot more sales. As you can see, I've done 2000 forward. We've gone from 4,500 sales down to 26,000 last year. Percentages, again, are not significant change to say that we're stopping or going back up. I've showed you the 3 last Januaries to say that from a January perspective, it's still increasing, but not at the rate it was. So again, I'm just showing statistics. You can make a statistic do anything you want. I'm just giving you actual numbers. Next. This is foreclosure notice information. One of the things we do is we gather all of the notice auctions statewide. We do this on a daily basis. It's updated every morning. So what we're showing here are the last 2 years' activity. The low numbers are 2 years ago, 2008. The middle number, let's see if I'm doing that right. I'm sorry, the gray lines are 2008. The yellow lines are 2009. Okay, February of last year in our 33-year election was the highest number of notices. Now, a thing to go to foreclosure does not necessarily go to foreclosure. What we find is something comfortably under half of the auctions actually take place. And those are the items that basically become a foreclosure and transact with a foreclosure deed. So they're tracked very specifically as a foreclosure entity. The indicators are right now, it isn't really slowing down from the notice perspective. If you follow the national trends, the banking institutions are a little bit concerned because people are now paying credit cards instead of mortgages. So they're saying it may get a little bit worse from the number of items going to notice. As the gentleman before me said, New Hampshire's a pretty safe haven comparatively. As we watch the national statistics and everything else, number 4 is indicated by everything we say. We are in phenomenal shape comparatively. Okay, I did, that's right. As of this morning, for example, I went in and looked. The number of auctions statewide this morning is 679 between now and the middle of April. Okay, again, less than half of those will go to foreclosure. I'm just trying to give you indicators of the activity out there. Next, please. What I've done here, this is the 2 counties, Rockingham and Stratford, again, large enough to get a reasonable sample for you. It is the number of sales versus foreclosures by county. Again, these are very small. I apologize. You didn't realize they'd be that small. But you can have copies. And as you look at last year, as you look at 2007, Rockingham County was 7.32% foreclosures. Stratford County was 8.3%. As of 2009, we moved to 12 and 15% respectively. So everything that we know is just being borne out in the numbers. And again, this is all sales of consideration, not necessarily MLS or realtor sales. So foreclosures are in those numbers, as well as short sales and direct sales between families and everything else. So lots of things you may or may not see. So basically, it's a statewide listing of all consideration sales. We don't see anything in I've got January 2010 up there. It doesn't really represent an increase. It's too short a term to say it's a trend up or down. It appears to be level, but that's a determination you can look and make yourself by looking at the data. So that's provided. Next, please. This is I picked a segment of the market. One of the things that Real Data does is run or works with the Department of Revenue to administer the equalization process. Equalization is a statewide sales study using all sales in the state against assessments within the town. All of the towns share a common code set. They share a common validity set, meaning is a sale valid? Is it in foreclosure? Is it market exposure? So what I've done here is pick on the strata of single-family home only, not all residents. Condos are not in here, mobile homes are not in here. This just happens to be 2 counties of the single home sales to show you how many sales versus how many valid sales. And I want to emphasize again, a valid sale is not foreclosure. It is all reasons that the assessment community did not feel that it was a full market value sale. In other words, in most cases, they sold well below what should have been achieved in a good market. What you'll find is back in 2006, consideration sales were about 71% valid. That's about normal over the long term. We've been doing this now for well over 20 years. It began to shift a little bit in 2007. It went to 63%. In 2008, it got to 50%. Meaning that only 50% of the sales are achieving market value or fair market exposure to be considered. 2009 is still in a trial state, but we carry the data and close it out as of September 30th. So I have all the figures in under what is into the state right now, and it's at 49.43. So very similar to last year. If you look at the chart later, you'll see that January is in here. I've taken it out of the equation because these sales have not been in front of the assessors to determine validity or not. So the data up to September 30th, all towns have looked at and made their decisions. They're into the state right now for review and confirmation. We don't see any trend that we're seeing right now to say that it's going to get worse. The gentleman before me said we're in very good shape as a state, and we're very level at this point. But it will continue. The number of foreclosures will be knocking on your doors probably, I'm going to guess, for at least 4 to 5 more years on a fairly heavy basis. And then if you do print the attachments, I've put in there the taxes and the ratios for all of the towns for 2007, 2008, and all of the current tax rates for 2009. The ratios are not done for 9 until about May. Thank you.